Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is AJ, welcome to AJ's Movie Place. Got another ranking video for you today, being a Monday at 6 PM. That's what this time slot is allotted for, a ranking video. This is my 6th ranking video, so if this is your first time popping into one, then welcome. Glad to have you here. Let me ask you if you've subscribed yet. If you haven't, please consider doing so. Supporting the channel, hit that subscribe button. That would be fantastic. So today I'm going to do a ranking of the Predator franchise. Yes, the 6 Predator films. There's 4 Predator films and 2 Alien versus Predator films. I'm going to rank them all together as one. I do perceive the AVP films to be more of a part of the Predator franchise than the Alien franchise because of the sort of time that they're set in. So without further ado, let's get into this ranking of the Predator franchise. Okay, so I'm not going to waste any time getting into this. We all know the Predator. We all know it's a fantastic character, fantastic creature by 20th Century Fox, recently been bought out by Disney. And you may or may not know that another Predator film has just finished filming, tentatively called Predator Skull. We'll see. I don't know if that's a working title or if that's the proper title. Only time will tell. So let's get into this ranking. So 6 films from worst to best. Now I will say that I did have trouble with this list in the worst part. Yeah, the top films were easy for me, but choosing the worst film was extremely difficult. So let's get into it. 6th place, 2018, The Predator. Yes, I would rank this as the worst film in the franchise. It was a tough decision, but there you go. Ultimately, I went with this. The film's a mess. Let's just say that. The film is a mess. When it was first announced and that Shane Black was on board, there was a lot of interest because obviously Shane Black, he did star in the first film as Hawkins, and he had a small part in helping write the film as well. Shane Black has also had quite a history in filmmaking. He'd written the first Lethal Weapon film, he'd created them characters, he done Iron Man 3, which isn't a bad Marvel MCU entry. It did divide a lot of people, but it was very well received and is a decent film. He's made a lot of good films in his time. So having him come aboard Predator seemed fantastic, but ultimately the film failed. The cast wasn't too bad apart from the main star, Boyd Holbrook. He's one of these characters that I call interchangeable, like with the Jai Courtneys and the Sam Worthingtons. Mishmash. Originally this film was actually meant to have Benicio del Toro star. Now imagine that, Benicio del Toro going up against a Predator. That would have been fantastic. But yeah, so this Predator, they changed up what the Predators were about. They weren't just coming to Earth to hunt. They are actually coming here because they were taking human DNA and sort of grafting it into their own to try and better themselves as a species. And they wanted a child who had autism, because apparently autism in the context of this film is the next step of human evolution. Yeah, so this sort of nonsense. The film suffered heavy cuts where actors that film roles weren't even now in the film. Characters were in the film just sort of were there 1 minute and then vanished the next. The whole latter part of the film was reshot because it was originally filmed in daylight and they wanted to take it to night time, and you lost this whole subplot about these predators that were in Area 51 that were here helping the human race and joined forces with this human team within the film, and ultimately you had these scenes of the predators fighting alongside humans against this predator, this evolved predator, genetically engineered predator that was about 9-10 feet tall, some sort of stupidness like that. So it wasn't a fantastic film. It was very jokey. Everything that came out of people's mouths was a joke. Tonally, it was bad. Not a good film. But I will say this for the film. I can watch the film, right? Because even though if I watch it, I know I'm watching a bad film, I'm watching a terrible Predator movie. But the film isn't boring. I'll give it that. It's not a boring film, but it is a bad film. So that was my 6th spot. So now, moving down into spot number 5. Alien vs Predator Requiem. This was where I had the trouble, these two films, because they're both pretty bad. Now, AVP 2, or Aliens versus Predator Requiem, came out in 2007. It was a sequel to 2004's Alien vs Predator. Now, this film follows on from AVP. It starts off where the first one ends, with the alien hybrid coming out, the alien predator hybrid bursting out of the chest of the predator that died at the end of the first Alien vs Predator film. Spaceship crashes down, and this town is overrun by aliens, and you've got the alien predator hybrid as well running around. The predators dispatch a lone predator to come and deal with this mess that's occurred on Earth. Now, in the narrative of the film, the theatrical cut anyway, you've got to ask the question, why are the predators only sending one predator to deal with this situation? There's hordes of aliens running around. They know the situation because they got video footage of it, which makes completely no sense whatsoever. Now, if you go to the extended cut of the film, which is considerably better in its narrative, the predator, when he leaves his homeworld, all he's got is a distress call. He doesn't know what has occurred. He gets a distress call, he knows that a ship has crashed on Earth, and he's got to go and clean up a ship that's crashed to hide the traces of them. When he arrives, he hooks himself up to a dead predator's mask, which has recorded the goings on. And it's only at this point that he realises that there's a possible alien infestation, and that there is a predator-alien hybrid on the run, and he has to deal with it, and hence the reason why it's a lone predator. The predator was called Wolf, a fantastic predator. Now, the problem with this film is the casting, first and foremost. There's not one interesting character in the entirety of the film. There's not one character that carries you through the film in an interesting manner. It's very much played like a slasher movie, and all the characters are just there for fodder, cannon fodder essentially, or predator alien fodder. So you don't really care who lives, who dies. The last act of the film improves. It gets a bit better, quite a bit of decent action. Like I said, the Predator is very good. Probably second best Predator if you were ranking all of the Predators themselves. So, but the film, the way it was shot, is very, very dark. You cannot see what's going on at all. This is the sort of film that you need to watch at night time with the curtains drawn, pitch black, no ambient lighting whatsoever. Turn the lighting up on your TV and you might just be able to see something. Otherwise, all you're looking at is a load of silhouettes fighting around. It's very indistinguishable as to see what is actually occurring. So that's my last spot. That's my 5th spot. Alien vs Predator Requiem. Now, dropping down to the 4th spot. AVP. 2004. Yes, the first Alien vs Predator film. It came out in 2004. There was a lot of hype for this film. I was very interested. Dark Horse Comics in the past had released a series of Alien vs Predator comics, and thusly this sort of spun from that. It is very loosely based on the first series of that, in that there's a female who joins forces with a predator. But the basic premise of this film is that us as humans, we've located a pyramid under the ice in Antarctic at the location of this old whaling station, sort of 18th century, early 19th century whaling station. Lance Henriksen returns as Wayland Bishop. I say returns, he played the Bishop android in the Alien films, and in this he returns to play Wayland Bishop, the head of Wayland Yutani, which goes in keeping with the sort of Alien franchise, because come Alien 3, you find out that the Bishop androids are actually based on the look of the original, of Wayland himself. So that was good to see Lance Henriksen back. Obviously, these people go to this ice place, and they, at the same time as the Predators turn up. There's an alien queen that's been frozen and kept on ice underneath the Arctic, and is thawed out for predators to come down and hunt as a sort of a grown-up ritual, so to speak. and they've been coming to Earth for years and years and years. If ever the aliens overtake, or you know, they sort of, they will use their device to wipe out the existence of the aliens at that place there and then. So yeah, the film's very much toned down on the violence. It had a very low rating, but to be honest, a lot of the action within the film is Alien on Predator. The minute you do that, you've got these two fantastical creatures fighting it out against one another. So you don't need a high rating, because in the context of the narrative, it's not alien on human violence or anything like this. It's these two cartoonish creatures fighting, so you can get away with it. Now, where this film fails for me ultimately is in the time frame of what's going on and the growth of the alien. Now, we know that the aliens grow pretty fast, and Alien Covenant picks up on this and done a bit where I think you see the alien actually increasing in size in front of the android, David Android, or whatever his name is, you know, Michael Fassbender's. In the first Alien film, when you watched that, you never got the impression that the aliens grew overly fast. You didn't get a time frame given to you for their growth, so you never felt it was an exponential, you know, momentary growth. But in this film, because of the narrative within the story, that you've got this pyramid that shifts shapes, much like a jigsaw or a Rubik's Cube, whatever, one of them sort of puzzles, it shifts every 10 minutes. So you're given a time frame within the context of the story of what is actually occurring. So within a matter of about 10 minutes, you get people impregnated with a facehugger. That embryo then grows into a chest burster. The chest burster comes out, and that alien is formed full size in about 10 minutes. This is stupid. This is silly writing. This is poor writing. You know, you need something. You need sustenance to increase that mass. You need food to increase your mass. That's just plain and simple. So how this thing magically grows, I don't know. And that's always bothered me about the aliens themselves. Now, this film was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who, you know, he gets a lot of flack, but he's not a bad director. He's just a very popcorny director, and does sort of, you know, just very on the screen popcorny, stupid, leave your mind at the front door sort of films, and that goes for this. So that's my fourth spot. Now, trickling down into that third spot, and there's quite a big gap in quality between this and the last. So 2010 gave us Predators. Now, Predators was produced by Robert Rodriguez's studio. They got a fresh director on it who had decent vision. Now, this film very much went back to basics of Predator and what the first Predator film was. The film is set in a jungle again, with a group of individuals, they're not a team, they have to come together as a team, and they're being hunted by a few predators. So, like I said, it's a jungle setting, but it's on an alien planet, so it does mix it up a bit. You've got all these different dangerous sort of people that are plucked out of different parts of Earth, and they're sent into this jungle where they're ultimately hunted by these three predators from a new clan of predator that we've never seen before. These are a slimmer, streaker type of predator. Yeah, they're different. This is where the problems start. Okay, these predators don't look as good as the original design. Their head's more elongated. They just look a mess of a predator. They look, you know, the predator design for the first Predator was fantastic. Here, you get to see an abysmal take on a predator. The film itself, you know, it sort of follows the first Predator film sort of beat for beat. It's got some great cast members. You know, you've got Adrian Brody. But when they first announced Adrian Brody, everyone was like, oh my God, you know, Adrian Brody? And I was much the same. But then Adrian Brody's film came out, and boy, Adrian Brody is fantastic in it. I mean, he bulked himself up for this role, and he is a really good character. Royce is a fantastic character. And this is the one thing I have to say about The Predator. That ending scene where that pod opens up. I know there was talk of maybe Arnie being in it, or Ripley even. Imagine if that pod had opened and outstepped Royce from Predator 3, from Predators. That would have made more more narrative sense than anything else that he is away somewhere on a predator hunting world, and now he's been brought back because in that time frame he's proved himself or whatever, and he's been brought back by the predators. That would have been fantastic if that happened and it took into another film like that. But these people don't think of that sort of thing. It takes people like you and me to think these sort of things up. But anyway, so this film, like I said, it follows the narrative of the first Predator film pretty much beat for beat. But it's a lot of fun. Like I said, the casting's good. Walton Goggins is in it. He's fantastic with anything he pops up in. You've got Morpheus. So Lawrence Fishburne stars as well as this previous survivor of the hunts who's managed to stay hidden for a long time on the planet, but he's gone a bit doolally. Yeah, so it's a really good film. You do get to see your original Predator in there as well, and it's a good time. It's a good, you know, yeah, it's a fun movie. So, drop me down in second place. You can see how this is going. This is kind of going numerically with the films now, isn't it? Predator 2 from 1991. Now this one might be a bit divisive because I know some people have an issue with this film, but obviously it's jungle set. Oh, sorry, urban jungle set. It's not set in the jungle, it's set in the city. You've got, you know, drug clans warring, you've got the police in battles with them, and the predators come to the city during this really hot season to hunt. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't return to this film. You've got Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon fame stepping into the role as a police officer with a fantastic cast of team around him, of including Bill Paxton, and yeah, this film is a lot of fun from beginning to end. It just hits the ground running. It doesn't let up all the way through. The Predator in it's fantastic, and this film done a load of world building for the Predator as a race of creatures. You get to learn a lot about their background, about their loyalty system, you know, their honour system, all this sort of stuff. It's a really good film, really fun film. The issue with the film now is that it's dated. Because the film is city set and was filmed in the late 80s, early 90s, the film feels it because of the vehicles that are in the film, the garb that people are wearing. It draws from RoboCop and Aliens. From RoboCop, you've got like the news reports, which wouldn't feel out of place in a RoboCop film. And from Aliens, you've got the slaughterhouse scene where Gary Busey's Agent Keys and his team are watching all these people inside the factory getting killed, and the camera's going to fuzz, like what Aliens did with the Marines. So yeah, that's the issue with this. The Predator looks good. The eyes ain't too great on it, but other than that, it's, you know, it's a very fun film, one that I do enjoy, and I do enjoy revisiting. Other than, like I said, the fact it's becoming dated. Now, the other Predator films either side of this don't suffer with that issue because it's set in a jungle, and, you know, like with Predator, you've just got people in military camo sort of gear, so you could say that the garb that they're wearing would get out of date, but unless you was a military historian or someone who was in the military, you wouldn't really know. The same goes with the weapons that they're using. Yeah, so my second spot would be Predator 2 from 1991. So that leaves us that first spot position, and you all knew this was coming. You know, nothing beats the very first Predator film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, so now this film is fantastic. It came out in 1987. For us in the UK, it was actually 1988. But it's one of Arnie's best films. It's up there with Terminator. You know, it would be in his top 5 films, easy. Directed by John McTiernan, who'd done Die Hard and Hunt for Red October, things like this. This is just a glorious film. One nitpick, if I was to edit this film, I wouldn't have had the alien spacecraft at the beginning appear and sort of go off to Earth. I'd have taken that out and just started down on the ground, so you don't know what's going on. You don't have this expectation that there's a potential alien of sorts. Now, this film is just... never seen a film so macho, so much machismo on the screen in a film. This is a very manly film. you know, this is like muscles and people. Do you know what I'm saying? You just get that from watching this film. Gunfire, explosions. You go into this film, if you're not a man, you go into this film and you're turned into a man. That's what this sort of film does to you. You know, they don't make films like this anymore. They can't make films like this anymore because all of today's actors, all the hero-y actors that you get, like Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, think of the Marvel MCU actors, right? They're great in their own right, don't get me wrong, I love the MCU, but these are all actors that when you look at, you think, okay, you're definitely in touch with your sensitive side, your feminine side. You don't get that from this sort of film, and lastly, these sort of films can't be made anymore because you don't have real manly men like this anymore. And that's what this film is how it feels. Now, obviously, as the film's narrative progresses, it starts off as a sort of an action film and a commando style film until, you know, it turns into the hunt and these people start getting wiped out by this predator, by this creature, and you don't get to see the creature fully until the end. That's saved for the ending, but you know, this film builds up tension, it's spooky, it's a fantastic film. Best Predator film ever, and the Predator, the design on the Predator itself has never looked better. They've never managed to top this original design. They've always tried, but it failed. Predator 2 was pretty damn good, but the eyes on the Predator they were off. Predators, all right, you had the original Predator in it, strung up on that sort of that spire thing that was out of the ground. But the other Predators with their elongated head, that was awful. Alien versus Predator, they were like bruisers in that. These Predators in that were massive and bulky, and you know, the first Predator was big, but he wasn't like, you know, looked like American football players or something like that in there with all their shoulder padding on, all this sort of stuff. No. And when the Predator took his mask off in that film, he looked... yeah, he just didn't look right. They've never got the old thingies right on them. It's never looked correct. Alien vs Predator Requiem, the Predator in that was actually pretty good. Probably joint second place with the one from Predator 2. You know, he was a good character, and the less said about the Predator, the better, with its 10-foot tall, stupid giant. Oh, let's go one bigger. Let's do a bigger Predator. Bigger doesn't always mean better. Yeah. So the Predator had a fantastic design of a creature, designed by Stan Winston, with a little help from James Cameron. A little sprinkling of salt from James Cameron, who just said, "Oh, I've always wanted to see mandibles." Lastly, the mandibles came to be. So yeah, fantastic film. So those were my rankings. Now, what I'm interested in is how you would rank these films, right? Because I know that top spot is going to be given to Predator. It has to be, right? But I know that there are a lot of people out there who actually like the Predator for some god-awful reason. I don't know. But yeah, so I would imagine a lot of other people's lists after that top spot would differ drastically. And that's really interesting to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you would rank this film series. So yeah, please consider leaving me a comment. Leave me a comment and let me know your ranking of this. But also, if you're interested, you can get in touch with me on Facebook and on Instagram. Same name as here, AJ's Movie Place. Most importantly though, hit that subscribe button down below. This is a weekly series that I do, so come and join me. Also, hit that notification bell. Hit that notification bell and you can keep apprised of my upcoming content, and you'll know when there's another AJ's Ranking Again episode coming. It's every Monday, 6 p.m. But yeah, so anyway, so this is AJ. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time, and hopefully I'll see you next time around. Take care all. Look after yourselves. Goodbye.